in a relationship, and 4.3% of men will cheat. Okay, so in the research that I did, okay, it was always the men that were doing it more so than the women. Okay, so let's talk about why people would cheat. Okay, so there are several different reasons, and it could be economical. It could be the passion was left, on the table, and instead of in the bedroom. Um, it could be that there's an intrusive person who's, maybe trying to, make the moves in on your significant other. There's just a number of reasons. You get overwhelmed with it every day. But what is key to making and rebuilding a relationship is knowing that you had a wonderful foundation with that person, reestablishing trust and communication, establishing boundaries, and also making sure that in this new developmental stage of your relationship, you are now going to be transparent. Okay, that is a very, very important thing. I was married for 15 years, and I had what I thought was a wonderful marriage. And one of the reasons it was so wonderful was because we were 100% transparent with one another when it came to finances and raising children and family and all kinds of stuff that we, were always so open with one another about. Okay. Now, no marriage is perfect. And I could not tell you that I was never cheated on. But what's important is something that my ex husband said to me one time. I must have been about 24 years old, and I was literally standing at the door trying to stop him from going out. Okay. And he wasn't going out to, do anything bad, or at least I didn't think he was. He needed a breather. He needed to walk away from the relationship and just take a breather. Well, I literally at 24 stood for the door, and I was like, "You're not going anywhere." So I remember he grabbed me gently by the shoulders and he sat me at the dining room table, and he said to me, "Never, ever, ever give anybody that much power and control over you." I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Never give anybody that much control. You don't know what I'm doing outside of the doors of this house. You don't know, and you don't have any control over it. So you have two choices. Either you sit at home crying about it, or you go out and you do your own thing." That's kind of what people need to absorb and take in when adultery happens. Okay. Either you stop and focus on yourself, right? And figure out, okay, what are the things that went wrong, and what did I contribute to things going wrong? And also, I have no control over what this person does. So either I now take a stand and start to build trust, or I take a step back and say, this is not for me. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I did get some comments, which I'll be reading in just a moment. But here was my initial thought coming into this podcast today. Okay. Hell no. Okay. Hell no. I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting around taking somebody's BS and, absorbing their insecurities because they can't keep their, stuff in their pants. Okay. It's just not going to happen. But as I started to read, of course, reading makes the mind a little bit more creative and smarter. And I started to realize, the love component in this entire scenario is the driving force for forgiveness. So I started to remember and take inventory in my mind about a long list of girlfriends that I have, right? My best friends from the time I was a really little girl. And I remember distinctly there was this one girl who was always complaining about the her partner who was also my bestie from back in the day. And she kept going on and on and on and on and on and crying. And, it was this repetitive story that I just didn't comprehend because I had never lived it myself. And my initial thought was, why don't you just leave this guy? Why don't you just he obviously flirts in front of, you with everybody else, including me. Why don't you just dump him and go? I don't get it. Right. And then when I experienced it myself, I was like, wow, easier said than done. Easier said than done. I happened to find out because I saw a picture online. And my initial reaction was, oh my God, what a liar. What a cheat, what a liar. What a deceiver. How dare he say beautiful things to me? How dare he, coax me into this relationship to only find out that this is the life that he's been living, right? And I remember being literally inundated with pain and sorrow. But then I remembered what my ex-husband said. You have no control over what other people do. You only have control over what you do, and furthermore, what you tolerate for your life. Okay? Super important when you're taking your inventory. Okay? And when you're trying to figure out whether you're going to forgive this person, figure out what is good for me. What am I willing to tolerate in my life? Okay? Well, I discovered something about myself that I really didn't know. I have a more of a forgiving heart than I had thought, right? Because I quickly realized, and it could be because I'm 50 and more mature, okay? I realized that I don't want to judge anybody, right? Nor do I want to force anybody to be with me. If it doesn't come natural to the person, then there's no sense in forcing it, right? Even if the love exists for my scenario and my life and my liking, then I think one of the best things that people or couples can do for each other is distance. In my world, I would say to the person, leave me alone. Leave me alone to my thoughts and my emotions, and allow me the room to just absorb all of what I saw and what is going on. That's the only way that we are able to process and gain perspective on a situation, okay? Generally speaking, of course, and I know a lot of women, based on the conversations that I've had with my friends who have been cheated on. Distance, stay away from me, okay? There are a lot of different reactions that my friends have expressed to me. One of them was like, I will, get my gun and shoot him, right? The other one's like, I'll go Lorena Bobbitt on his ass and make sure he never does it again. Another one is like, I just cut it off instantly and never saw him again. And obviously all of those things are personal to you and your emotions and how you process things, okay? But like my brother always says, we are the hopeful romantics. So let's focus in this podcast for the next, half hour. Let's focus on the things that we can do to rebuild. And also, before we do that, we're going to focus on why do people stay? Okay, the wrong reasons why people stay. People will stay because of the children. Bad move. People will stay because of other family members. If you have an old-fashioned parent or grandparent, it's, oh, back in my day, cultural. That's a cultural thing. Okay. Um, some people will stay because they've developed a group of friends. Okay, who are all couples and they hang out, and it just would ruin the equation. I promise you, this is a true story. Okay, so whatever your reasons are for staying, okay, I'm going to tell you, you're full of it. You're full of it. Because at the end of the day, the reason you're staying is because you love the person. Okay, that's the bottom line. You're staying because you love. And when there's love, there's room for building. Okay, however, it doesn't go exempt from having hurdles, right? Let's talk about some of those hurdles. The lack of trust. I remember when I saw those pictures, I thought to myself, I will never trust this person again. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to see him. I will never in my life trust this human being with anything that has to do with me, especially my heart and my psyche. All right? The hurdles of, and let me just say this, I did forgive. I did forgive. And I lived each and one of these hurdles. Okay? The lust had left the building after I saw the image that I saw. And let me just say that it was not any kind of X-rated. I just saw a picture of the two of them. And to be quite honestly, it wasn't even, a close picture. And it was just the fact that it was a picture of him, a picture of her, and there was a comment below it that I didn't think was appropriate, right? That to me is cheating. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, okay? There's the hurdle of that fear of loss, okay? That fear of loss. Am I going to dive in, or not necessarily dive in, but am I going to trust this person again and then ultimately lose them? Am I going to do that? Okay. All right. Here are some of the things that you can do to recover that person and hopefully gain that person's trust. Again, we're going to establish open lines of communication. We're going to strive for transparency. If you had never said to your partner in the past, I don't like the way you wear that shirt. Well, guess what? In this new phase of your relationship, those things need to be said. Okay? They don't need to be said in a hurtful way, but for the purpose of establishing transparency. And so that that person can see that you are completely open and willing to say everything and anything that needs to be said in this relationship. Now, proceed with caution. Again, those might have been the reasons why your relationship ended to begin with, okay? So if that's the case, then you want to avoid those, getting into those situations. But effective communication, transparency. Say, hey, listen, you know what? Maybe next year I want to go on vacation by myself, right? Because you don't necessarily like the places that I go to, but I want to set the foundation for trust, okay? Let's talk a little bit about why do men cheat and why do women cheat, okay? A man will cheat, in my opinion, okay? A man will cheat just for the flesh because it's present, because it was available. They have a different sort of processing system than women do. A woman will cheat because she's feeling neglected. A woman's going to cheat because she's overwhelmed with the life that they've built together, okay? And maybe feel like he's not carrying his own weight. A woman will cheat because if you read my brother's book, and I'm not going to give anything away because you should buy it, www.bookbaby.com. Shallow River to Deep Ocean, a man's guide to understanding himself by first. I'm sorry, his woman by first understanding himself. Okay. So if you read the book, you'll see that men have to make active contributions to their relationship in order for women to kind of, get into the groove and vibe with them. Okay. So I could more speak to women, right? So we're talking about neglect. I remember being in what I like to call um, a work romance. Okay. The availability of a person who was constantly in front of me, who was constantly empowering me and giving me something different than what I was receiving at home. I never cheated, but led me towards the path of possibly doing it. So not having that strength and that, real foundation and that love in my own environment allowed me to kind of lift my head up and look around for something else. Okay, so we were talking about what would make a man and a woman come back and reconnect with one another. Okay, so you have to restore trust. Trust is the biggest thing. Love, trust, respect. In no, specific order, but love, trust, respect. If you are able to reestablish those things, I also believe in once you've taken your space and now you realized, okay, this is something that I want to work on. Okay. The next step is take space away from family and friends. Okay. Take space away from family and friends. I'm never going to say that those are the factors that contributed to the breakup of a relationship. Okay. Now, there are extreme conditions. I'm not going to say there might be, a relative who's constantly meddling into, the love that you've developed with this person. But I find that typically when that happens, it's only because they love you so much that they get to see the red flags way before we do. So let's assume that that's the case, right? But a couple needs, and I'm not talking about a couple taking a weekend vacation on a cruise where you're away from family. No, come on. All right. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're going to take a couple of months, maybe 3 months, to stay away from all of the stuff that surrounds you. And you're going to take that time to be together. Okay? Be together to get to know each other again, to reconnect. Okay? Reconnect. I cannot reconnect with you if my mother-in-law is in the next room. I cannot reconnect with you if you're constantly on the phone with your brother. I cannot reconnect with you if we don't take the time and space to be alone, right? Because that time and space, the time and space that you take to be, with your own thoughts, is allowing you to become strong again to face the situation. Okay? The time that you take to be alone with your partner and do things that are cool and active and get to those points where you can say to them, listen, let's take separate vacations. I trust you enough now to do that. Okay? I trust you enough. Now, once you've had that space, I remember when we were kids, my parents went to something called Marriage Encounter. And it was just this retreat where couples would go and they do a series of exercises and all kinds of things to reconnect with one another. And I thought that was so brilliant because I was like, you know what? My parents came back and they were like lovers again. They were super happy. And in fact, I don't think I had seen that in a really long time with them, and it was so beautiful. And they were the epitome of what I would think that I would want in a relationship, right? It was really good. And I said, that is such a smart idea. It's just like going to counseling or whatever, but it was a retreat where they were doing cool exercises, and it was in a sunny place, and just a beautiful environment that was conducive of falling in love all over again. Okay. So back to, you know, working things out. You take your space, disconnect from the world, right? Take a couple vacations, do a couple things, do like plan activities that, just involve you and him, physical activities, right? During that time, what you're doing is inevitably building a bond and building trust again, right? I like to do the physical activity one because that's where you can really like see how much are you going to have my back? Are you going to cheer me on? Are you still, does that still live in you, right? Let's move outside of our comfort zone. Let me reconnect with you, say in New Orleans or in Vegas. Let's go to Cali. Let's go to, Ibiza, anywhere else. And let's see, can you keep your eyes on me? Right? All of those things start to build trust in a relationship. They start to establish the foundation again that you had when you said, I do, or I'm committed. Okay? Establishing boundaries is a huge, huge, huge thing in a relationship. Establishing boundaries is not just for what happens after, adultery happens. Okay? This is something that should be ongoing in every relationship. Okay? Establishing boundaries is this. Okay? So if before our relationship we had the bad habit of talking about your sister, my brother, your family member, your children, you're this, you're that. Now we're going to establish the boundaries that say, okay, I'm going to communicate and be transparent with you, and I'm going to tell you that those things bothered me. Okay, and I no longer accept them for my life. If we're going to move forward, these are the things that we need to stop and fix and adjust. Okay. I no longer accept that tell me that that you spring it on me, that you're going out with your friends, and you tell me 5 minutes when they're already outside. That's not acceptable to me because it's not the way I want to live my life. If it's the way you want to live your life, then during this period of communication and transparency and establishing boundaries, here we're going to define, right? Here's where we're going to define what is good for me and what is good for you. Okay? Now, putting an effort into intimacy is a huge, huge, huge one for me. Okay? Once you have broken the trust, this is especially for men. Once you have broken the trust in a relationship, do not expect a woman to bounce back and be all over you like she was before. And I'm going to give you a little bit of news. Even if the sex portion of your relationship goes back to normal, newsflash, buddy, her mind is elsewhere. Okay? Her mind has got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's a reality check, guys. Okay? If you don't make an effort to create intimacy, to show her that she is the one that you want to be with. Okay? And you're not actively doing this constantly on a daily basis, you kind of peek in and out, then that's what's happening in the bedroom. She's peeking in and out. While you think it's wonderful, it's amazing, we're getting back together, and this is something that I really want. Yes, nothing has changed. Guess what? It's changed. It's changed an awful lot. And you, my friend, need to work extra hard to make it work. Because at the slight moment or chance that she sees you glancing away, you're spaced out on the couch, you're texting too much, you have ants in your pants and you want to go, that's the moment where a woman decides, you know what, I'm done, I'm out of here, I don't want to be with you anymore. Okay. So active participation in this process from both parties could very well help the process. It is never guaranteed that it's going to be exactly the same, okay? But the possibility exists that if the two people work together, it could actually be something bigger and better than you ever expected, okay? In my particular situation, I put my best foot forward to make this work, okay? I put my best foot forward for reasons within this scenario that I don't particularly want to share with everyone, okay? But for reasons that after I took my time and took inventory and realized that I had not been perfect myself, I don't have a cheating heart, nor would I ever have one, okay? But sometimes we get caught up in this space, especially, with new relationships, where we may have unfinished business with an ex, okay? We may have unfinished communications with that person for the fact that you're just establishing, listen, I've got somebody else, you need to move on and do your thing, right? But realize that when you're entertaining something outside of your relationship, you may not want to label it as cheating, okay? And we won't do that either. We're not going to label it as cheating. But realize that your shift in focus is being felt by someone. Your shift in focus is hurting somebody else, okay? So, in conclusion, do I think that people can turn around and get back to where they were? I don't know about back, but you can definitely start the path of healing and forgiveness if both parties make the effort. Children are not the reason to stay. In fact, when my parents got to the tail end of their relationship, I think if they would have interviewed each and every one of us, we would have been like, get a divorce. Get a divorce. This is annoying. Get a divorce. The fighting, the this, the that, the bickering, the finances, all this nonsense. It needs to stop. It's never healthy for children to be in an environment where parents are fighting. Okay? That's just a bogus excuse. Okay? And if you have that in your brain, I'm going to tell you right here and right now, pack your bags and go. Okay? Your children are going to have a better quality of life visiting you in a peaceful home versus sticking around and fighting with their other parent. Okay? You want to develop good children, smart children, children who are confident. Go. Okay. Now, here's something about not wanting to make it work. Okay. Every person has the right to not want to make it work. Every person has that right. And just because the other person is begging and pleading and, saying I'm sorry and all of these things, you do not have to give in. You do not have to have complacency over a situation that has profoundly hurt you. Okay? What you can do and what you have every right to do is to express those emotions and give that person some closure and say, listen, I cannot be with you because you've hurt me to the core of my being, and I feel like I just need to be removed out of this space and time and move on to better and greater things. Okay? I was married for 15 years. Okay? Maya vibes, by the way, okay, are old-fashioned vibes, if you haven't realized them already. My Maya vibes are old-fashioned and very traditional. Okay? The reason I can speak to some of these issues is that when my husband and I, and it didn't have anything to do with cheating, it just simply had to do with the fact that our life path was not going in the right direction. It was going parallel rather than along the same lines. So when we decided that it was going to be over, okay, we literally had a wonderful conversation at the dinner table. We held hands with our son and we said, you know what? It's time for us to transition to something else. Okay? At first, there was a bit of a little, not a fight, but it was, a little tension. And, one party didn't want it, the other party wanted it more. But eventually, we got to a space through good communication and through through transparency, okay, where we realized I can't make you happy to the extent that you would like to be happy. Okay? That brings me to ownership. Ownership in a dilemma, ownership in a relationship. Okay? I'm going to take ownership for the stuff that I didn't do, the stuff that I can't do, the stuff that I'm not willing to do. Okay? And I would like for you to take ownership of those things as well. If we can come to a mutual agreement that we're willing to bend for that other person, that's love. That's worth carrying forward. Okay? If you come to the agreement that I'm not going to do that, and ego gets in the way, and there's all this negativity and chaos around your decisions. I'm not giving up parts of myself to to make you happy, especially after you've cheated on me and etc. Then the best form of love, okay, is separation. Separation. I love you enough to let you go without a continuous battle so that you can move forward and be happy in a relationship. So you can move forward and find something, whether it's with this person who you cheated on me with, okay, or someone else. Because I also deserve to be happy. I also deserve to be heard in a relationship. Okay, so at the bottom line is, it's choice. It's choice. Do you have it in you? Do you have the maturity? Do you have the love? Do you have the ability to forgive? To be able to continue to have this human in your life without torturing them and reminding them of their mistake and infidelity? Okay. Or are you just done with it, and you just can't move forward, and you're just gonna, keep doing your own thing? Okay. I want to touch on the fact that, you know, initially when I found out, I was annoyed, and hopefully this will help some people process their pain as well. I was annoyed by the fact that I'm like, how dare you be the one to show me this sentiment of distrust? Like, who the hell are you? Right? Like, you just taught me that people cheat. I had never in my 50 years experienced anything similar. And you have the nerve to come into my life to teach me this lesson? Okay. So, when I was a little girl, I always used to say, I don't stay hit. Somebody hits me, I hit them back. So that was my initial reaction at 50. I'm like, you cheated on me? Oh, you wait and see what's going to happen to you. And I started concocting a whole bunch of stuff in my brain of stuff that I could do. Okay? Immaturity. All right. Then I said to him, I was like, listen, back off. After I did, lash out and say a bunch of things. And I even sent a little picture with a guy with a bunch of garbage bags all over him. And I was like, look here, that's you and the girlfriends you like to hang out with. All right, whatever. Understand it's never about the woman or the man. It's always about the person and the couple. Okay. So I did, like I said, lash out. But then as I started to take inventory and be away from the situation, right? And I realized how much I miss this person. I realized how much this person really has impacted my life in such a short period of time. And I thought, am I willing to let this go, let this person go over a picture? Okay. Over the lack of, I want to say, empathy towards not my feelings, but my reaction. Oh, you're overreacting. You're making more out of this than it really is. Okay. Am I willing? Am I the kind of person who just gives up? And I realized, no, I'm not. I'm not the kind of person that just gives up. In my heart, I know that we've got something, right? So let's explore that something. Let's give ourselves a timeline, a time frame, okay, for exploration. Let's figure this out. Okay, let's be transparent. Let's be open. Let's talk about your likes, your dislikes, your wants, your needs, all this other stuff, as I will discuss and bring mine to the table. Okay? And after a reasonable amount of time, let's figure out if we are going to the finish line or if you're finished right here. Okay? Anyhow, it's been a wonderful podcast. Even though I was alone, I miss my, my mentor, Mr. Drop-in Dimes, who got me involved in all of this. And, hopefully we're bringing this to the next level. I do want to share, Mr. Drop-in Dimes is actually behind the scenes working on some wonderful things. Number one, his second book, which is already, I believe, 5 or even 6 chapters in. And we need to allow him the time for his creativity and his wonder. And in addition to that, he is working on getting these podcasts into different networks. Okay. So we hope that you like and share and bring more attention to our rhetoric. We will be bringing great topics coming forward. I am going to be a little bit more opinionated because I've been kind of holding back a little bit. And Mikey's like, just be yourself. And I was like, are you sure? Sometimes I say bad words. Okay, so in the meantime, there are some wonderful, wonderful things coming your way, and we hope that you enjoy every minute of what we have to share. And we look forward to your comments. We look forward to reading them. I will not read some of the comments, even though I said I would. I'm going to save that for the conversation that we'll have with Mr. Droppin' Dimes himself. So, with that said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We will be back next week, next Tuesday, with some new materials. I think that next week, this topic is going to be around. We want to dive deeper into the internet dating and the psychology behind it. Okay, we've been talking about this for a really long time. We're going to go into reading some of the really, really interesting profiles that I have come across as a single woman. The promise that they offer is interesting. But I want to share this little, statistic with you. So it says that 1 in 3, and this is just one site, Tinder users, okay, is married. 1 in 3 is married. Oh my God. And these are the guys that are out there with the best profiles. Oh, I like hiking. I like this. I like wine tasting. I like that. Yeah, with your wife, jerk. Okay. Anyhow, I will see you guys next week, and hopefully you'll like and share and bring some friends. Mwah. Love it. Take care. Maya vibes.